This old advertisement may look completely ordinary at first glance, but it was banned in several countries, including the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom. According to marketers, after just one showing of the ad, sales of the product featured in it skyrocketed by more than 50%. The number sounded shocking, even frightening. The CIA, police, and scientists raised the alarm. They concluded that the commercial was essentially hacking viewers' subconscious and pushing them to act against their own will. But before we break down how this manipulation works, take a look at this cute photo. This ad was never banned, but it did something just as disturbing. Through this campaign, marketers struck directly at our most primitive instincts. This seemingly harmless image is practically whispering to your brain, your child could die if you tried to save money on tires. The message hit its target perfectly and drove people straight to the store. But even that is nothing compared to the next case. You've definitely seen ads like this for mobile games, but did you know that this type of advertising was officially banned across the entire United Kingdom? And there's a very good reason for it. This kind of gameplay creates intense cognitive dissonance in viewers. You watch someone play a game badly, making obvious mistakes, and it creates a physical sense of discomfort. Your brain immediately wants to fix it and do it the right way. In psychology, this is known as the Zeigarnik effect, and when marketers exploit it aggressively, it can turn viewers into zombies. In this video, we'll explore how advertising can hypnotize millions of people, how marketers manage to create tools that hack our brains year after year, which instincts they exploit, and why government bans don't actually stop it. To understand this, we need to examine each case one by one. Let's begin our investigation in the 1950s. This period marked a major technological breakthrough. By that time, almost every American family owned a television, and the entertainment industry was growing at an unprecedented pace. Movie theaters were showing large-scale films with complex storylines and epic scenes. And it was in a movie theater in 1957 that one of the most controversial moments in the history of marketing took place, a moment that terrified viewers, governments, and law enforcement agencies alike. An American marketer named James Vicary claimed he had conducted a strange experiment. During screenings of the film Picnic, he inserted frames containing the messages, "Drink Coca-Cola" and "Hungry, eat popcorn." These frames flashed on the screen for 1/3000th of a second, so quickly that viewers had no conscious awareness of them. But that was exactly the point. According to Vicary, viewers did not consciously perceive these signals, yet the messages slipped directly into the subconscious and created a powerful urge to perform the suggested action. Vicary claimed that after just one showing of the film, popcorn sales increased by 57%, Coca-Cola sales increased by 18%, and the customers themselves had no idea why. The news quickly became a national sensation. Newspapers wrote that advertising had learned how to influence the brain and manipulate the human mind. The CIA launched an investigation, considering it a potential weapon of psychological manipulation. In 1958, the United Kingdom and Australia became the first countries in the world to officially ban this type of advertising. But important questions remained. How exactly does this kind of advertising affect the brain? Is it really that effective? And what exactly made it so frightening? When we watch a video, visual information first hits the retina, then travels to the primary visual cortex at the back of the brain. If an image stays on the screen for more than 50 milliseconds, the signal has enough time to reach the frontal lobe, the region responsible for logic and conscious awareness. That's when we realize what we just saw. But if a frame flashes for only 1/3000th of a second, the eyes and the visual cortex still register it. However, the signal never reaches the brain regions responsible for awareness, logic, and critical thinking. In other words, the brain technically receives the information through the eyes, but we never consciously process it because it appears too quickly. According to Vicary, that was enough to trigger the desired behavior in viewers, even though their conscious minds remained completely unaware. This type of advertising later became known as subliminal advertising. For many years, the phrase terrified the public, while scientists argued endlessly about whether it actually worked. In 1974, something strange and much bigger happened. The makers of the children's board game Who's Kerdu released a weird TV commercial. It flashed the words "Get It" on the screen in tiny, almost invisible bursts. Some viewers noticed strange glitches and started complaining. Paranoia spread quickly. Parents feared their kids were being brainwashed. The Federal Communications Commission launched an emergency investigation. Later that year, the agency issued a memo officially calling subliminal messages deceptive and contrary to the public interest. TV networks were warned they could lose their licenses if they aired such ads. But despite all the panic and endless debate, no one has ever scientifically proven that these messages actually work. Most scientists today agree that subliminal advertising is far less powerful than people once feared. The idea, though, that someone could hack the human brain was terrifying, and governments banned it just to be safe. And let's not forget James Vickery, the man behind the original 1957 Coca-Cola and popcorn experiment. 5 years later, in 1962, he admitted he had completely made it up to promote his agency. Later, it even came out that he probably never ran the experiment at all. If subliminal advertising turned out to be mostly a scary myth, the next type of advertising is very real, and it has repeatedly proven its incredible power. Unlike the previous method, this one quietly but powerfully attacks human instincts. To understand how it works, let's look at the story of Listerine. In the 1920s, the company sold floor cleaner and surgical antiseptics. Sales were slow, and the company desperately needed a new market. Then the brand's executives did something shocking. They basically invented a disease. They dug up an obscure medical term from old textbooks, halitosis, and built an aggressive advertising campaign entirely around it. Posters showed a sad, lonely woman. The headline read, "She was often a bridesmaid, but never a bride." The text explained that she had a tragic problem, halitosis, or chronic bad breath. Because of it, she would remain alone forever. Friends would turn away. She would never find a partner. And of course, Listerine supposedly solved this painful problem. The result? Sales shot up from $115,000 to $8 million. The company reinvented itself, focused on a new problem, and became the market leader. But why did this simple marketing trick work so well? Because Listerine attacked the most basic human instinct, survival. Just like our prehistoric ancestors, we still make decisions based on this ancient evolutionary code. Their campaign targeted our deepest fear, social rejection. The message was clear. Bad breath leads to isolation. Isolation means exile from the tribe. And for our brains, exile once meant death. Listerine brilliantly connected a tiny physiological flaw to a threat of total social rejection. This campaign revealed a chilling truth. No matter how smart, rational, or modern we think we are, our decisions are still driven by primitive instincts, survival and reproduction. And any obstacle that threatens those instincts, it has to be removed. Inspired by this strategy, tire manufacturer Michelin launched an even more aggressive campaign in 1985, a campaign that changed the entire industry. Most tire brands talked about stopping distance, tread quality, and durability. They appealed to logic. Michelin did something completely different. They placed a chubby baby inside a massive car tire and added a single line that changed everything. Because so much is riding on your tires. No statistics, no product specs, just that. And of course, it worked. Our brains react instantly to infant features: big eyes, soft skin, vulnerability. The visual contrast between a fragile baby and a dangerous road sparks anxiety in any parent. The ad doesn't say outright, "You will crash," but it whispers directly to your subconscious. If you skimp on tires, you're risking your child's life. Cortisol spikes. Logic shuts down. You stop comparing prices because haggling over your child's safety feels wrong. Once again, our most basic instincts kick in: survival and protection of offspring. This campaign made Michelin the undisputed market leader, and it permanently rewrote the rulebook for tire advertising. But if you think threatening a child's safety is the height of cynicism, welcome to politics. It was 1964. Just 2 years earlier, the world had come dangerously close to nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Americans still lived under the constant shadow of atomic destruction. Fear of the bomb was everywhere. That year, the United States held a presidential election: Lyndon Johnson versus Barry Goldwater. Goldwater was known as a radical. In several speeches, he openly stated he wouldn't rule out using tactical nuclear weapons in Vietnam, calling nuclear warheads just another kind of weapon. Johnson's campaign had one clear goal: convince Americans that a Goldwater presidency could trigger a real nuclear war, one that might destroy the world. So they released a television ad that would go down in history as the Daisy Girl. In the commercial, a little girl stands in a sunny meadow, slowly plucking petals off a daisy. The scene feels warm and tender, opening the empathy centers in our brains. And then, suddenly, The image freezes. A harsh military voice counts down.
3, 2, 1.
The screen explodes into a mushroom cloud. Over it, Johnson's voice intones,
We must either love each other or we must die.
The ad triggered a deep primal fear. Cortisol levels spiked. Panic spread across the country. It aired only once, then was pulled after a flood of angry phone calls. But the goal had already been achieved. Fear-hacked American brains delivered Johnson a landslide victory. The ad created a simple, binary choice. Vote Johnson equals the life of this little girl and global safety. Vote Goldwater equals nuclear ash and death. This wasn't just political messaging. It was the instinct of self-preservation packaged into 60 seconds of television. And if all these examples seem outdated or less shocking today, the next story might actually scare you. We've seen how marketers once hacked the subconscious and our survival instincts. But what if I told you that right now, at this very moment, millions of people are willingly falling into a completely different kind of manipulation, a far more sophisticated one. Mobile game ads. In these ads, a player faces a simple puzzle, like pulling a pin to save a character or collect treasure. But instead of choosing the obvious solution, the invisible player keeps making ridiculous mistakes. The hero burns in lava, drowns, fails the level. Your first thought is, who is this idiot? This puzzle is so easy. Here's the paradox. These ads are incredibly effective. They generate billions of dollars. Why? Because they exploit a quirk in our brains known as the Zeigarnik effect. Back in the 1920s, psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik noticed something strange about human memory. Every task creates psychological tension. Finish it, the tension disappears. Interrupt it, the brain feels the unpleasant pressure of unfinished business. That's exactly what these ads do. Your brain sees the obvious solution. You expect the puzzle to be solved, but the player messes up. The task remains unresolved. Frustration spikes. Your inner perfectionist starts screaming. Your brain desperately wants to close the loop, and marketers hand you the perfect release. Download. You don't download the game because you like it. You download it to prove to yourself that you're smarter, to finally solve the puzzle correctly. It's a pure cognitive trap. The brand deliberately annoys you to force a conversion. Interestingly, in 2020, the UK Advertising Standards Authority banned similar ads for homescapes and gardenscapes, but it wasn't because of the Zeigarnik effect. The reason was simpler. The puzzle gameplay in the ads was completely fake. The real game was just a typical Match 3 puzzle. The dramatic pin-pull challenges in the commercials never actually existed. Evolution spent millions of years shaping the human brain so we could survive in the wild. Every reaction, emotion, and neural process was fine-tuned to protect us and our offspring. But today, those ancient mechanisms have turned against us. Corporations have learned to use our survival instincts and our need for order like buttons on a control panel. Fear of social rejection, the primal terror of a nuclear explosion, the cognitive itch created by an unfinished puzzle. All of these bypass logic and rational thinking, targeting our most ancient neural systems. And government bans rarely work, because every time one type of ad is banned, 10 new, even more sophisticated methods appear. Companies spend billions of dollars figuring out new ways to trigger your brain and make you spend money. You are a target every second of your life. So how do you defend yourself? The only real antivirus is awareness and critical thinking. The next time you feel a sudden, uncontrollable urge to buy, download, or click something, pause for 5 seconds. Take a breath. Give the signal time to reach your frontal lobe. Then ask yourself a few simple questions. Do I really want this? Or is my brain being hacked right now? What emotion are marketers trying to trigger? Which psychological string are they pulling? Or simply subscribe to the channel so you'll always know the brilliant and dark marketing strategies designed to manipulate you.